I told everybody I was going to do a documentary on the things I got in the 70s, and I pulled it all out, the 80s, 70s, and when I started with Del Pettit and his Kenpo karate, and we were a team. That's my old team jacket. It used to say Del Pettit's Kenpo karate, but then I became Dynamic Performance Kenpo karate back then. And it was 1980s, 1990s. That was one of my last trophies I ever won right there. It was the 1990 U.S. National Karate Championships. And I only got second. I felt I should have got first, but I think I got burned out of that. 1990, Nevada Martial Arts Federation state champion. You know, I did a lot with Sammy Torres and karate demos in 94. And we were a team. We were a team in 91. And we were in the Utah Games. We were featured in some stuff. I've met other people, if you know who that is. He was in one of Del Pettit's tournaments and stuff. And they were all really good. And then pictures of me and my wife doing our martial arts in fields. When we got our black belts, my wife and I had our pictures taken with the dragon and the tiger. We had this taken just because we were both champions back then. You can see the wall was full of trophies. Del Pettit's retreats. My wife, she was like just any other black or brown belt. She knew her stuff. And we all competed. We all competed back then. We were competing and, doing different things, staffs, swords, everything. This is when I was a blue belt. That's me, the tall guy. That's me when I was doing staff in a tournament as a brown belt. And these are all 80s, 90s. There's Karen as just a black belt doing hers. That's when we were getting our green belt, I think. That's brown belt doing form for the judges. And that's black belt doing form for maybe that's brown belt. Yeah, that's brown belt. My staff was always in everybody's. They loved to use my staff for the tournaments. But we were all a team. We had a team, man. Del Pettit's team. Then my team came about, green belts, doing size, because I learned a lot of size when I was doing Filipino arts. Brown belt there at Del Pettit's. We were brown belts. Brown belts. See, even in the brown belt, I had my wall full of trophies. I always had won trophies. Teaching different kind of techniques and forms. This is my oldest student. That's my oldest student, Charlie. And you can see my wall. I had certificates as I got right there too. But certificates all signed by Del Pettit and Ed Parker. And I run my own school in my garage. And if you looked at my garage, it had nothing but trophies everywhere. Look in the mirror in the back. There's trophies everywhere, all along the walls. Yeah, I wasn't no slouch when it came to Kenpo back then. We had a nice team, young team, and they were all champions. Every one of these guys took a championship, whether they're yellow belt, white belt, brown belt, up to the black belts, which we got. We got 5 black belts in my school back then. Karen doing forms. She was always in the competitions. We were always at some kind of retreat or karate retreat. My wife, she was a champion too. She took lots of championships. There's my son when he was a yellow belt back in the 70s and 80s. And, when we got our black belts, we were proud of our black belts, kicking that tiger. Because we were proud of our black belt. Bill Wallace, when back in the 80s when I met him. Bill Wallace, these are all signed by Bill Wallace. Just like that one signed by, the Start Kwan, but he was really good. He was really fantastic, had a good attitude about the martial arts. Utah State games, we did a lot of that, me and my wife. There's a there's a brown belt sheet from Ed Parker's system right there. That's a brown belt sheet from Ed Parker's system right there. Then it goes into the back. It goes into the black belt, destructive fans and dance of, death and all the things we had to have for black belt down along the black belt area. The release of liability, we all have people sign that. I have them sign it if they even walk in my class. Oh, that's not karate stuff. My students all loved me. They were all champions. They were all purple, brown belts, black belts. They got their black. I had 5 black belts that actually got their black belts through Dale Pettit, Roger Pettit. Me, after a while, but there was a controversy there, and I don't want to talk about it. So there was a little bit of controversy. But we went to, we had the regular American Kenpo Karate Systems application back then. Sports karates from the 90s, sports karates from the 80s, permission slips, and this is just full. This right here is just full of my system, everything I've ever done, everything I had recognition for in the newspapers back then in Salt Lake City, Utah, and I had a lot of it. This little things like this that Dale Pettit used to put out. We've all seen the target zones and stories about Kenpo and stories about Shaolin monks, and there's all kinds of stuff in this one. My letter that I wrote to tell Dale Pettit why I deserved a black belt, and not just because of my forms and techniques, but because of my mentality and the things that I learned while I was learning martial arts, to teach you how to defend yourself and not fight. So, here came Ishingak. Ishingak came in when I decided, I was a 3rd degree black belt, and I started doing Ishingak. These are all my requirements for Ishingak. And it's all a lot to do with the same things we had in, here we got, lot. My black belt, my first black belt and the second black belt with my 1st degree, and we did the 3rd degree. And this was, what trophy was that one? That was fighting back in 1989. No, yeah, 1989. I took 1st place in fighting, and then that was all black belt. I think I was 1st degree in 1989. 90, I took the USA Grand National 2nd, but I still feel I got ripped because he kept running out of the ring on me. Beautiful coat that we used to wear, Pettit's karate stuff. My book that I wrote about everything, Secrets of Underground Medicine, and I used to like the Secrets of Underground Medicine. And, we all had our favorites, especially when it came to buying the black belt books, and these are all 89, 90s. Some of them are pretty old. I think some of them are in the 80s, And then certificates, all the certificates that we got back then were all signed. The little ones were all signed for Dale and Roger Pettit and Kim Goon, all those. And then here you see Dale Pettit, and if you notice right there, Edmund Parker. So people want to talk about Edmund Parker. He was present during that test for my 1st degree black belt. He signed all my certificates, but a lot of the stuff got lost throughout the years. You know what I mean? I just broke this out because I still have it. Articles back when we were doing sports karate and stuff for people in demonstrations, and people like Darren Cox, and they were doing Kenpo in Murray, Utah, and it talks about the Wallace team, and it talks about how we how all my guys are champions. Back then when we were doing with Sammy Torres and Magna, if Sammy Torres is out there and he sees us, hey, I'm still kicking, buddy. Still going to the target impact areas and know all my creeds and pledges, and I still got it all on paperwork. From, what's that? Oh yeah, that's all your kicks and snaps and step drags and push drags and oh yeah, all explained. And then here we got something that's pretty special. This is like 80s here. This is Lotta Roger, Del Pettit, Ed Parker, yellow belt. Yellow belt requirements. Purple belt requirements. Blue belt requirements. And green belt techniques. They're just the techniques. So we go through all this and green belt, you got to know the historic and highlights of karate. You got to know it. You got to know what Kenpo karate is. You got to know the theories of various different styles. These are green and purple. I could go through all this stuff with you in simplicity. Salute, attention, left, neutral bow. You start teaching them all your techniques and all the techniques, different techniques. And it's everything. Orange belt requirements. Right down to every word that I know Del Pettit and Ed Parker went by. Like the blue belt. Index here is blue belt. You got to know. Well, we all know destructive twins, thrusting wedge, cross twigs, wings of silk, conquering shield, charging ramp, parting wings, hey, thundering hammer, ball convulsion, obstructing the storm, darting mace. It's all there. Everything's here. Green belt. Green belt. Historical highlights, please. Know everything about your historical highlights of each technique. Right to the word. And then know Kenpo's karate proverbs, the lifestyle code and ethics. What is karate? What is Kenpo? If you don't know these things, you don't know Kenpo, because we learned all these things. Technique, index, and clutching feather, gift of destruction, glancing salute, snapping, scraping hooves, grip of death, crossing talons, striking serpent's head, lock wing, all down the line, going down the line all the way to Del Pettit's. Because he was my instructor, I need to know his background and history, just like everybody knew Ed Parker's background and history. I researched Ed Parker's background and history because he was my teacher's instructor, just like anybody, Kim, Gu, everybody I ever took martial arts from. I learned their ethics, their principles, their way of doing it, their way of wanting you to do it. And then you work it into your system, as I did with Ishingak. And if you look at some of this here, this is vast information that I've had all my life. Yellow belt requirements, just simple stuff, knowing your creeds, your pledges, knowing your creeds and your pledges, running and doing exercises, and knowing star block, how to keep it tight, knowing your citation. Now, these went the warrior and the scholar. That was Del Pettit, everybody down to my line. And I was always thinking, God, wouldn't the scholar want to come first? The warrior comes first, and it's just instant fight. If the scholar comes first, so you tell me if I'm right or wrong, but I like scholar and warrior. That way the scholar comes first, the warrior comes second, and then the rest happens. Make that technique work, though. Don't just flash it down here. It's a strike to the eyes. I think this is why we all flash it down right at our hip. But in my martial arts, Ishin Gak, when you do the citation, you strike them with every movement. Every movement is a strike, a block, and then finish and close. So I've stressed that in my guys. I've stressed that in anybody that wants to learn that, I think the scholar comes first. Got to know your elbow strikes. This is all just yellow belt. Okay, and then all the stances, all the basics, all your pledges, your stances, your hard blocks, your punches, your sit-ups, your everything, others, leg stretches, fitness requirements. In the case of an orange belt testing, you are required to double the yellow belt workouts, And then it's got KB1A, our Chinese fighting art, or whatever people called it back then. I've got all the illustrations, all the words, all the numbers for the Chinese fighting art, all your different letters, all what the letters mean, all everything, right down to the T. 1970s, 1970s, and today, Chinese fighting art. That was in Kenpo too. A lot of people didn't see some of the Kenpo we learned because today they flash through it too quick. I had a guy tell me he didn't know of arm set, and I was going, arm set? That's one every Kenpo person should know. How to do an arm set, two-man form, purple belt requirements, defense techniques. It tells you clutching feather, gift of destruction, glancing salutes, scraping hooves, grip of death, crossing talons, striking serpent's head, locked wing. I learned all this stuff for years. I still teach it. Defense techniques, blinding sacrifice, desperate falcons, tripping arrow, returning the storm, hugging pendulum, gripping talon. And as I talk these, I know I can go through every one of them. As I talk about them, I just go through them in my head. Yeah, it's done. Gift of destruction, one of my favorite ones. Glancing wing, ooh, that's a fun one. Dance of Death. No, Dance of Death was my favorite one. Gift of Destruction was okay, but Dance of Death was my favorite one because it went along with a lot of different things that you could use it for. There's third-degree brown belt pledges and what defense techniques you have to double up on and know all of the extensions again. Perfect on both sides, right and left. You want them the same exact on right and left, not one uncomfortable other than the other. If I see that you're doing techniques on one side and the other don't look right, you probably won't pass the brown belt for third degree. Third degree comes first, right? Brown belt. First you get your brown belt, then you get your third degree, your second degree, your first degree. That was what I learned in karate. For a brown belt, Kenpo for karate, brown belt, it was brown belt. You got your brown belt, then you got your third, second, and first. Once you got your first, you could go for your black belt. So this is all information that just, it's so vast in this book right here. It has all the explanations for everything, right down to the, and then, there's some old pictures. Sammy Torres, yay. There we are. Oh, look here. Then, see, you find a trove of it's just, every time you open up another page, it's a new story, Ooh, there's some more. Okay, let's see what we got here. Ooh, there's brown belt requirements. All the brown belt requirements right there. Black belt requirements, I think, are on the back of that one, too. Yeah, they are. Yeah. Okay, we got it. So, martial arts championship, perform at Copper Days. Yay, according to Torres. These two teams, as well as Charles Wallace's national karate team, will highlight some of Utah's greatest in fitness, self-defense, street fighting, and along with a school which received the 1993 Champion School Hall of Fame Awards. Yay! Yay! See, there's just a grove of information here that I have. And Sammy Torres, he gave me this when I was in his class for a while, and he told me I was a pleasure to work with because we all had so much fun, and we learned a lot because he was doing Larry Tannum's system of Kenpo karate. There's the whole school right there. Where am I? Oh, I'm right there in the back. See? Right in the back. That's his whole school, and I'm right in the back right there. It's fun times. Fun times. That was like 80s and early 85, 90. I can't remember. So long ago. Lots of stuff, though. These are all just telling you different techniques for black belt. Here we go. Let's see what we got for black belt. Hey, we got all kinds. All kinds. You start going into your lances. You start going into your fans, your storms. Oh, all the lances. Yeah, glancing lance, craning lance, thrusting lance. Oh, yeah. Knuckle, elbow, lancing the back knuckle, destroying the lance, stabbing the lance, blocking the lance, grabbing the lance, thrusting the spear. Ooh, thrusting the ribs in, all kinds. Ooh, yeah, there's so much here. Ooh, I remember it all too. I can remember it all. I go through it in my head and it just clicks. It just goes, wow, I remember all this stuff. Even at 65 years old. Ooh, there's more of black belt techniques. Let's see. See, these are all handwritten. See, these are back in the day when they weren't using a computer. They're just handwriting it for you. Glancing lance, brushing lance, woo, all kinds. We love it. That's all black belt handwritten stuff. Back then when they didn't really use computers, they just handwrite it for you. Destructing, what's this? Dominating circle. Oh, yeah. Yeah, and then, we did a dominating the circle where everybody would attack you, and that's what that starts you out to do, is that dominating the circle. It's for a right punch, but we do a dominating circle where they come in on you hard. Every technique you better be able to use it. A family, a decade, it's been so long. People tell me all the time, my Chuck's in a fighting situation. Oh, man. Self-defense is so... But didn't... Okay, yeah, that was a letter I wrote to my instructor and just told him that some things aren't the way we think they are. Because I would never give somebody's students their black belt without the person there that taught them. And Dale Pitt did that to me. That's when I walked away at a 3rd degree black belt and started Ishigak. So it's been over the years. All impact zones. Ooh, what are these? See, and then there's lots of mystical highlights of martial arts. What's this one? Yellow belt techniques. So yeah, all the yellow belt techniques completely explained. Right down to purple, blue, green, and everything. I got everything here that I needed back when I started teaching again before the pandemic. But I threw it all in a box and I gave up during the pandemic. So I decided just to do it myself. I haven't taught since. But I still need to. I still need to pass it on. Because who wouldn't want to pass on all this? There's more than I can even count. How fast are you? How fast are you becoming? Understanding American Kenpo Karate by beginner Charles Wallace. Face is the majority of the martial arts performance. Ooh, training tips. See, this is what I wrote. Knowledge and wisdom through Kenpo. And I wrote that a long time ago. God, I wrote that a long time ago. I think we had computers back then when I wrote this. What does it say? Charles Wallace. Are you trying to improve your life? Or are you trying to improve your studies, but find it difficult to achieve your goals? See, I was writing about all Kenpo and what we know and what we try to achieve. You know, for example, an old Kenpo man, every punch could be a block, every punch can be a strike, every punch can be a throw, every punch can be a takedown. Unarmed combat is what we teach. Unarmed combat. Two-man sets, two-man book sets. Remember all those? Does anybody see? And that's where I tell guys, the book sets are just like arm sets. They're all just, according to Mr. Parker, during his many visits to Del Pettit's studio when I was there, and Steve and everybody, Clubs Utah, during the mid-1970s and 80s. See, he started that. Techniques give definition and meaning to the basic fundamentals of Kenpo. So, we were doing two-man sets, two-man book sets, arm sets, grab sets, tackles, pushes. We were doing it all. Combinations of everything. Techniques, takedowns. We had it all. And then they come in and they wanted to regulate what we could do to them to stop them from grabbing us. And that was one of my concerns back then, is the fact that they did want to take and regulate it so we couldn't do the things to stop them from grabbing. And here we go again, your short one, drill forms, blocking while retreating. So see, we turn short one, short two, long two, short three, long four, all the way down to 8, 9, whatever. You want to go book sets, blocking sets, kicking sets, finger sets, coordination sets, striking sets. We learned it all. You had to have it all. You know what I mean? If you're in Kenpo, you know what I mean, or you're not there. Because that's what we had to have. We had to have everything. Techniques, forms, everything. Double kicks, strikes, all your double double dagger forms for long 8. But see, back when we were doing it, long 7 was still kind of a creation. Back in I guess 70s, more 70s than 80s. Oh, hold on. I just lost my glass. But back in the 70s and 80s, it was... I lost my concentration because I dropped everything. But again, drilling forms and striking sets, stances, coordination sets. There's 2 of them, 1 and 2, and coordination sets, and so much. You know what I mean? I wrote it about everything. And I put it up. I put it on here. This was one of mine in January of 2018. I decided to go write about all the parries, the kicks, and foot maneuvers. This in my system, in my Kenpo, Ishin Ryu Goju American Kenpo. That's what I call it. And see, that's all your foot maneuvers that I talk about and try to describe. Everything that I knew, learned, wrote about, and at the end just said, hey, understand American Kenpo. Understand American Kenpo. Beginners to end. Beginners to end. During the beginner's level, right to the end. No Kenpo. And long 7, here we go. Woo, long 7. It tells you, yeah, that's one thing I loved about long 7. It was pretty much just like we did all the time anyway. We did our forms, 5 swords, reversing mace, repeating devastation, clashing wings, gathering the storm, see, flashing storm, withering storm. We did all the forms. I did short 1 with weapons, short 2 with weapons. I did it with size. I did short 4 with size. We did short 4 with all kinds of weapons. I do short 4 with nunchucks. It's awesome. Thank you, Sammy Torres, for the time I had with you. Thank you, Martial Arts Championships of Copper Days. We had a good time. All the people Sammy Torres and your crew, man, were great. They were great up there in Magna, Utah. You know, all the Utah games were great. We had so much fun, you know, and thank you. You know, I got a signed autographed picture of that Karate Do and Bill Wallace. These are signed, but see, you can barely see it anymore. It's so old. Bill Wallace, he signed these for me. And it's so old you can barely see the signatures on there. My students, a couple of them dishonored me, and I had to go through that with a couple of students, which we hate to go through, but sometimes you have to go through that with students. You know, karate demos from 1994 and 1990 championship. Like I said, I can go through this all day. My book, all the books I used to love, because I used to love Chuck Norris and everybody that we loved. You know, Bruce Lee, he was one of my favorites. You know, and all these people that I got books of were one of my favorites. You know. Oh yeah, I loved this guy. He was so great. He was so strong. God, so. Yeah, I can't even remember his name, but I don't see it on the book right away. And our ending of the video. Don't think Ed Parker didn't sign my certificates. Look at them. They're all signed by Ed Parker. He was present during my first degree and second degree black belt tests. He was present. So don't think he wasn't. And Dale Pettit, thank you. You know, even though we had a little bit of a, when I was going through Dale Pettit, he was 7th degree black belt. So everybody knows Dale Pettit. They should in the Kenpo world. It's like Ed Parker. Dale Pettit was right in that line of all you people. Tandem, all you people know Dale Pettit. And Dale Pettit was teaching a great martial arts back then, and we still are. I'm still trying to hold the tradition at 65 years old. It's getting harder and harder, but that's why I made this video. Don't know how much longer I'll make it, but all these paperworks are here. All these writings that I wrote. You know, everything we did back in the 80s. Because this one's 1980, 1980s, 1989, and then it goes down 1990. So yeah, right around 80s and 90s. And this is valuable right here because this is just all Ed Parker. I know that's Ed Parker's way of teaching brown belt right there. And this is Dale Pettit right here with Ed Parker's permission to teach anything when it came to teaching martial arts. I made sure I got permission to teach Kenpo when I was a brown belt, first degree, right before my black. And I've taught ever since. So we've been there. We worked hard to get there. If you know how hard we worked to get there, my wife and I worked really hard. And she felt